I told you before that Satan and the demons in general, that's the paranormal, only has patterns to work with. It's through patterns that they want to trick you in a cycle, a downward spiral. Now, I want to highlight to you, better said remind you, that it's not easy to train someone in a new pattern. The basic worldly patterns that you receive them during your childhood by the people around you. And those are the patterns the enemy wants to trick you in. Look, let me give an example. Let's say you're from a household where people used to ignore your needs. You grew up then with this defensive attitude of having to assert yourself, to stand up for yourself, to remind others that you are important too. And then you have others around you who don't want to face reality, just want to be left alone, and they will look for some excuse to blame you why you were overlooked. Because they don't want to face the fact that something's wrong with the community. Let's say it was a pattern you grew up in. Later you are out of that environment, but you still develop this defensive assertiveness. And because you have this defensive assertiveness, the enemy now can trigger that defensive assertiveness by bringing people close to you who don't want to face things. And people who don't want to face things will always come with some excuse. So anytime those people come up with some dumb excuse, you're triggered. You feel upset. That's the pattern Satan wants to keep alive. But here's the good news. Once you see through the pattern, and once you forfeit the pattern and all the ways of thinking, all the false comforts come along with it, Satan has nothing anymore. That's why it's important to renew your mind. The only thing Satan has left is other people to suggest bad outcomes onto you. Suggestive witchcraft will be the only thing left for the enemy once you've seen through and have outgrown the wrong thinking patterns of the world. That's how it is. And mark my words, I'm not just saying this, okay? I'm highlighting something very important to you. Anytime some discomfort or some bad situation appears, look at the context. If you, for example, just give an example here. Let's say you paid the rent of your house. You paid it on time, very early. You went online, logged into your bank account, and you transferred it. So there's evidence that you've paid it. You used the right bank account number, used the right codes, so it's done. But then, some months later, the landlord claims that you didn't pay 2 months rent. And you think, hold on, and you tell him plainly by email, I've paid it. Look in the database. And then the landlord, well, his assistant emails you, tells you, we don't have received any payment from you. And he threatened you with a bailiff and all of that. And you make screenshots of your bank account when you go online, when it's visible that you've paid it. And you send it to him by email and you tell him, I don't want to hear anything about me not having paid the rent because here's the evidence that I've paid. Any attempt of you to continue to claim that I haven't paid any rent is a form of harassment. You'll have to talk to my lawyer then. After this, the landlord stops because he knows if I continue with these lies, I'm in trouble. Now what has happened here? This is a hindrance that came your way and you dealt with it. Okay, that's a good thing. But when you look at the context, when did this hindrance appear? You just launch your own business or just met new people. There is something good that just happens to you, and now the enemy wants to draw your attention away from the good that happens to you. The enemy wants you to be busy with finding the negative instead of realizing that something good has just happened. And here's the thing, often when something good happens, you're not aware of it yourself. Or it can be that you've outgrown some wrong thinking of the world. Anyway, something good happens, something of quality happens on your behalf for your benefit. But the enemy doesn't want you to realize that. So he wants you to perceive yourself as unfortunate. And the way he accomplishes this is by either overwhelming you with bad circumstances or with accusations. And this is a trick I'm teaching you. That's why don't discuss your matters with everyone. At the example of the rent, which is a parable, if that happened to you, and you begin to talk about with certain people, let's say those people are not in line with Christ and they have no intention of looking at the bigger picture, they will come with excuses of saying, yeah, maybe you didn't pay it well, or maybe you should do this better. They will come with an accusative tone, often without being aware of it. So now those people are going to further advance the deception Satan sent your way. You're already shocked because you're being told you didn't pay the rent, even though you did. And now you have people talking down on you as if it's your fault also. That's why it's important to know who you're speaking to. Some folks just don't want to deal with stuff. You just want to be left alone. Such folks, you don't give them the right to have this negative attitude because that's negative, but you shake their dust. It's their dust, their heaviness. You shake their heaviness off of you. Shaking the dust off your feet really means that you shake off the heaviness of evildoers or of sustainers of evil out of you. Some people are not evildoers, but they're sustaining evil by their denial. Shake their dust, shake their heaviness off of you. Okay? That's one thing I wanted to point out to you. But just look at the context when things happen. Some of you now, you have your breakthrough. You should still think that you need to get your breakthrough. You already have your breakthrough. You're already operating in your breakthrough. But the enemy doesn't want you to realize it. That's why you have those hindrances. That's why sometimes you have bailiffs coming and claiming you need to pay something that doesn't add up. And you ask yourself, why do they keep coming with these cases that don't add up? Or that's why you have that suddenly some people just can't stand you. They have some reason to transfer some heaviness onto you. The enemy is using them to distort your perception. I'm telling you, look at the context. I've taught you this because I've experienced this on multiple occasions. Anytime something good happens to you, or anytime you have a breakthrough, the enemy comes to distort your perception. Let me give a quick parable. Let's say now that you have this guy who lives in a colony, an overseas colony of some European country, and according to a law, he has to go to jail because he didn't pay enough taxes, and he's charged by the colonial government. But suddenly, in Europe, in the capital of the empire, the monarch dies, and the crown prince becomes a new king. And the new king, who's the emperor of that empire, he decrees that all tax-related debts are cancelled throughout the empire. The king did this so that everyone could start fresh anew. And now, through sail ships, this spread throughout the empire. Now this guy who lives, let's say that he's from France, okay, but he lives in Saint Dominique. That's the name for Haiti before the revolution. He lives in Saint Dominique, or what we call Haiti, and he is working hard on his farm because he's preparing himself just in case he needs to pay extra money to pay off his debt. He has no debt anymore because the king declared he was free from debt. But you had local criminals in Saint Dominique that didn't want to comply with the king's order. So the guy kept receiving threats that he needs to pay his tax debt or else. But then one day the cousin of that man told him, Jean, let's say his name is Jean. Jean, have you noticed that you only receive threats that something bad's going to happen to you if you don't pay the tax, but never do police officers or the French Navy arrive at your house? Why is that? And then Jean begins to say, hold on a minute. And then the cousin explains to him, Jean, you're being kept in fear. Yes, the threats are real. They're threatening you. But why don't you just arrive at your place and do something to you? And it's after that when Jean dives into it, he finds out that nobody in Saint Dominique has any tax-related debts because the new king, well, he erased all the debts. And then John was thinking, why was I not informed about this? But here's the thing, the criminals that wanted to keep John and some other forms in bondage, they suppressed the news that came from Paris that the king erased all tax-related debts. Because those criminals knew once the people here know this, we can't exploit them anymore. We can't make them work hard anymore and benefit from their labor at their expense. That's how the enemy is. Okay? So whatever happens around you, look at the context. I'm telling you, look at the context. And above all, know you are in Christ. Be at peace.